you rambunctious little bambinos. Thanks for the intro, JD here. Good to have you on board. We do appreciate you, as always, taking some of your time to spend it with us here on the program, where we like our flying a little turbulent, our women a little crazy, and our politics a little messy. Marcelo working the boards, Brad producing the program, emails at the website, jerrydoyle.com. And the poll question up there for you today, Senator Jim DeMint, or as we like to call him on the program sometimes, Senator Jim DeMinty Fresh, the Republican from South Carolina, who said 14 months ago, quote, "You can't be a fiscal conservative and not be a social conservative," end quote, is now telling Republicans to embrace Ron Paul's wisdom and libertarian voters if a Republican is to win in 2012. Do you agree, disagree, or do you welcome Senator DeMint to the revolution? 24% agree, 9% disagree, 67% say welcome to the revolution. Senator Jim DeMint. Welcome to the show. You want to join us? 800-876-4123. The phone call is free. So is the data mining, courtesy of everyone. Welcome to the revolution, Senator. Who's the 9%ers out there? Because it's 91 with and 9 against. Who are the 9%ers who disagree? You have to be a social conservative and a fiscal conservative because that's what the fiscal conservative Republican Party is all about. That's what Ronald Reagan will tell you. Ronald Reagan will tell you got to be a conservative. Not really. Ronald Reagan on libertarianism, 1975. If you analyze it, I believe the very heart and soul of conservatism is libertarianism. I think conservatism is really a misnomer, just as liberalism is a misnomer for the liberals. If we were back in the days of the revolution, so-called conservatives today would be the liberals, and the liberals would be the Tories. Not spelling. The basis of conservatism is a desire for less government interference and less centralized authority and more individual freedom, and this is a pretty general description also of what libertarianism is, end quote. Thank you, Ron. Welcome to the revolution, Senator. Now, it's interesting. For a lot of reasons. I have tons of interesting stuff, even though I spent a lot of hours with attorneys this morning figuring out how I could sue NBC for me losing an hour of my life last night with Whitney and Chelsea Handler's new show. But that's a whole different story. I'll get a class action suit going on that, and if you want to join, let me know. But I was looking at the writings of Byron York in the Washington Examiner. And now Byron York is asking the question, after New Hampshire, is Ron Paul headed for bigger things? Now, he goes through and he talks about all the things that Ron Paul has accomplished, which, by the way, Ron Paul has the second best record in the GOP voting so far. Second best. Paul's New Hampshire results were, by any reckoning, a solid showing. When Bill Clinton did about as well in 1992 in the Democrat primary, he was dubbed as the comeback kid and launched on his way to the party's nomination. And he says Ron Paul continues to suffer from under-coverage in some corners of the media. He said, but there's little doubt he would receive more coverage if the press viewed him as a mainstream Republican. He's not a mainstream Republican. He's a libertarian who believes in letting people live their own lives, who happens to be in the Republican Party. But the dismissal of Ron Paul continues. And even Jon Stewart, I know he's a liberal, can't listen to him, right? Jon Stewart on The Daily Show was talking about he wanted to know who would be the first to dismiss Ron Paul's New Hampshire showing.
With Mitt Romney's victory in the bag, the only question that remained last night, who would be the first pundit to dismiss Ron Paul's second-place finish?
NBC News can now project that Ron Paul will finish second.
If you take Ron Paul out of this, what would have happened to Huntsman? Huntsman is the real second here.
No, you can't! You're not allowed to just take Ron Paul out of this! That's just physics. You're not... And you know, if you add 2 zeros to the end of Huntsman's totals, he would have been in first by hundreds of thousands of votes. An unprecedented victory. Why is no one talking about this? Because it didn't happen.
And if you take the Y out of Doyle, you end up with Dole, and I'm a pineapple king. But that's not the case. I'm a talk show host that has a Y. I was thinking about taking up snowboarding, and I was trying to come up with a handle for myself. You know, like the redheaded guy. What's his name? Shaun White. He's the flying tomato. So I thought being a Mick, I would be the flying potato. What do you think? Anyway, but that's going to be post-shoulder surgery. But anyway, trying to take something out of something and make something out of what's not there into something that isn't is exactly what Stewart's talking about. Well, if we could just get rid of Ron Paul. But the problem is, when you look at what Ron Paul's all about and what his campaign is about, people have been trying to dismiss him. And in a certain way, it's been a good thing. And let me tell you why. I know to the Pauliacs, so what do you call yourselves? Ronulans? And I've endorsed Ron Paul on this program. I think probably any of the top 25 nationally syndicated talk show hosts, I'm the only one that came forward and endorsed Ron Paul. Maybe the top 50, top 100. I don't know. That's not for a badge of courage for me, whatever. I'm not saying it. All I'm saying is you recognize certain things that are happening, and you go with the momentum. Now, when you look at what has happened to Ron Paul in the attempts to dismiss and to label him as an anti-Semite, a racist, a crazy old man, he's got wacky eyebrows. No, the guy who had wacky eyebrows was Andy Looney, captain of the all-senility team before he left us on 60 Minutes. He was the guy with the wacky eyebrows. They look like curb feelers. But anyway, in the dismissal of Ron Paul, he didn't come back at people angry like Newt Gingrich. He didn't come back at him like a buffoon like Rick Perry. He just kept saying what he was saying. And it was the momentum of the people that have sustained him. And now the pundits are going, damn it, this guy just won't go away. He just won't go away because the people aren't going away. And now the people who have been dismissing him, and Byron York, to a certain degree, dismissive of Ron Paul, and also ran a has-been, a tired old fool with outdated ideas, is now trying to find a way to kind of warm up to Ron Paul. And he uses Senator Jim DeMint. And Senator Jim DeMint says, hey, Republicans, 25% of the base of the Republican Party is libertarians. And we got to bring them in. Otherwise, we're going to lose in 2012. Hello, welcome to the revolution. But now people out there, and I'm not just singling Byron York out for any other reason that he has a great article in the Washington Examiner looking at where Ron Paul is headed. But he and many others are now trying to find a way to get on board in the same way that others were trying to get off the train of others that were in the race and used convenient ways to do it. Rick Perry's oops moment. That was it for me when he couldn't name the third branch of government that he wanted to eliminate. I mean, not third branch, the third department of government that he wanted to eliminate. The oops moment lost me. No, Rick Perry never had me because he's a tool. He's not a conservative. You don't use executive orders to mandate that every teenage girl in Texas get vaccinated with Gardasil. That's what Obama does, right? That's what Obama's doing now, going around Congress. Perry goes around the Texas legislature and then comes back later and says, yeah, we probably should have thrown that up the flag. And then you don't embrace in-state tuition for illegals, which Rick Perry did. And you don't campaign for Al Gore as the state co-chair in 1988 on global warming. You don't. So I didn't need Rick Perry's oops moment to know that he was not presidential. But people, in immediately embracing him, started to see the real Rick Perry show up. Instead of doing their due diligence up front and saying, nope, sorry, I reject that. I reject that guy. I reject those positions. The guy who embraced New York's gay marriage, and then he gets heat from the Family Research Council, and then he comes back and he goes, well, maybe we should do it on a state-by-state basis, and I really should step out of this. And they go, yay, he's changed his mind. He's with us, and we support him. No, you look at these people up front, and you come to the conclusion of who you support or who you reject. But in the Republican Party, when you got cheerleaders out there like Fox News and the Rushes and the Hannitys and the Levins of the world that just cheer everything and anything Republican except Ron Paul, everybody's presidential. Everybody's got a shot. But then you come to find out that it's not that way. And then you look for an oops moment to say, got to get off there, got to get off here. Looking for a reason to get off the train. Like Herman Cain. 999 Herman Cain. What was it that they got to? Was it the womanizing? Oh, God, that's kind of wrong. Libya, that was it. That was it. In the sit-down with the editorial board, he was a little fuzzy on Libya, and that's the reason I got to go. Now, when Herman Cain was fuzzy on Libya, I said he probably was tired. And Rick Perry, when he had his oops moment, probably legitimately had an oops moment. But I didn't have to look for a moment where I could segue out of Perry. And now just the reverse is happening with people who dismissed Ron Paul up front, who are now trying to figure out a way that they can go, whoa, I can use Senator Jim DeMint to get on the Ron Paul train. How I become a part of the revolution. See, it's not me saying that. I'm just saying what Senator DeMint said, and if Senator DeMint said it, then there must be something to it. So I guess now Senator DeMint gives me cover to get on board the Ron Paul revolution.
The Jerry Doyle Show.
We were on board a long time ago. Took some heat for it. That's okay. That doesn't bother me. But you know what the Ron Paul movement tells me? In Ron Paul being the consistent conservative, the guy who tells it like it is, the guy who's honest, consistently honest, is that America is a decent and honest nation made up of people who all they really want is an even playing field and a shot at the American dream. Because they're rejecting candidates who all they see in the candidates is what's in it for the candidates and not in it for them. And in Ron Paul's revolution, what he's most concerned about is what's in it for you. 800-876-4123 is the number. Jerry Doyle, join me.
If you take Ron Paul out of this, Huntsman is the real second here.
Where's Ron Paul? We disqualified him.
This is the Jerry Doyle Show.